We are back for another Christian review of regular books and no spoiler review of the Powerless series. So let's get into it. For those of you who haven't seen one of these videos before, here's how it's gonna go down. First, I do my regular review, what you know and love to expect from a book review. Star rating, would I recommend it, what I thought, etc. But then I get into my Christian review, and that's where I go over the basic pieces of a book that may or may not have a fellow believer or anyone wanting to read it. I do this so that you can make a decision that's best for you, and if you and I disagree with what's okay, that's okay. Now, I give all of my caveats and any more information you may need about these Christian reviews at the video that's pinned at the top of the playlist. It also should be here somewhere. So click on that. One final thing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can stay up to date on everything that's happening on our channel. There is the Journey We Share podcast, which is on here, as well as all of these Christian reviews of regular books. We are doing them 4 to 5 days a week, so I definitely don't want you to miss out. Let's go ahead and get started. This trilogy was something that I picked up Powerless only because it was a book club pick. And I thought, I'm not really gonna be feeling this book. I don't think this book is going to be for me. Everything I had kind of seen and read about it just seemed like, maybe, maybe not. But this was at the very beginning of my reading journey when I started reading a ton of books. And so I just decided I'll check it out and see what all the hype's about. However, I absolutely fell in love with Lauren's writing style in this book, and it totally transformed my desire to read the rest of the trilogy. Let's go ahead and start with Powerless, and then from there we can talk about the other books in the trilogy. Powerless is a Hunger Games kind of like redo with like a magic system included. It was really interesting and I really liked the storyline. I think that the characters were super cute banter and interesting, but I wasn't in love with the banter. Like the characters weren't the main reason that I loved this story. I more loved the story for the world that she wrote. I know that a lot of people really loved the banter in this book and in this series as a whole, but it just didn't hit for me the same way. However, this is a perfect YA series that keeps you engaged and interested, and I think was really well done. I rated it 4 stars. The second book is Reckless, and this is kind of like shorter for her other 2 books. I thought this book was really good. However, this is very relational forward. It's a very second book, you know? And second books can either be helpful in the story or helpful in the relationships, and this one was helpful in the relationships. Not a lot happens throughout the plot of this book, but the relationship dynamics do continue to strengthen, and the end of this book was shocking. Truly shocking. The cliffhanger totally caught me off guard. I had no idea what was coming, and I loved it so much, and for that reason I also rated this 4 stars. So then I wanted to get Fearless. I actually was gifted Fearless from a friend of mine. I was excited to check it out. I watched a lot of my friends cry and sob throughout this book, and so I was really interested in checking it out for myself and seeing what happened and where we go from there. And this book personally let me down a little bit. I think that she really did try to include both the relational and the fantasy side to close the story and the loop well. However, I think that it was a little too immature for me. The banter in here just didn't do it for me in that type of way. It has never really done it for me. And so then the character dynamics I struggled with, the relationship dynamics I struggled with, and ultimately I felt like the fantasy just was a little bit too much of other people's stories instead of her own kind of creative energy. This is a really great jumping off point for Lauren Roberts. I think we'll see as like her writing develops, her being able to come up with more things that are personal to her own writing style that will be really interesting and fun. I still enjoyed the book, I still had a fun time, and the ending was perfect for the end of the series, so I rated it 3.5 stars. There is also Powerful, which is the novella. The novella goes between Powerless and Reckless. I did read Powerful, but I don't physically own a copy, and I really did not like Powerful at all. It follows a different character, a character that you meet in Powerless, and you walk through a timeline that you already have experienced, but from this new character's points of view. Additionally, it comes to the same ending, and I didn't like the ending of Powerless, so I didn't want that ending from a different perspective. It was really challenging for me to get into or enjoy. I have since heard that you can read it as a tandem with Powerless. I think that would be a good option because then you're just kind of getting the story all together. Still enjoyed it, but didn't really fall in love with it or even the characters. I rated it 3 stars. Now let's go ahead and get into my Christian review. The first category I always love to touch on because it's very popular, especially with like romantasy or romance, is smut or spice, and there is none. This is a romantasy series, however it is also YA, so there shouldn't be any spicy scenes throughout, and there is nothing explicitly described. I think that there are some areas in which There's desire or wanting or maybe fade to black, but nothing that's descriptive in a scene whatsoever. The second category is explicit language, and again, nothing. We're good on that front. The next category would be gore or violence, and these books do have a fair bit of violence and a little bit of gore. I don't think it's ever so much that it would be too much, but just something to keep in mind. It was really well done how she weaved the story of the violence and the gore throughout these stories, and I think it was a beautiful addition to the story, not something that was so graphic it took away. The last category I love to touch on when it comes to fantasy is the magic system, and this magic system is very light and very clean. It's not even really touched on that much or explored that much. I don't think it's anything that unique, but ultimately it's not a matter of bad versus good. It's not a matter of anything except for elites have this access to magic that the regular people do not. And so it's a very interesting process as you go through and learn about the magic system, but there was a lot left that could have been explored within it that just wasn't. Ultimately, I think this would be great for anyone ages 14 and up. I would totally let my 12-year-old even read this series. I think that it's very, very clean and has some really great storylines. As always, you can see everything that I'm reading and rating by following me on Goodreads. You can also find me on Instagram, on TikTok, and I do have my own YouTube channel where I go over more of the day-to-day of what I'm reading. So if you're interested in checking out any of those platforms, you can do so down below. We don't want the conversation to end here, so make sure to leave a comment down below and let us know what your thoughts are of this series, if you've read it, if you have questions, or you can send us an email at hello@trochia.org. I cannot wait to see you on the next one.